Vision. There are two types of vision we're going to talk about today. One is the type of vision that you sort of kind of see in the future, and the other type of vision is the kind where you anticipate what's going to happen next. And you might be saying, well, those are the same thing. When you hear the examples, you may understand how I understand them, is that they're just a little bit different, but you need both of them to be exceptionally great in your sport and or in life. Okay, let's look at the first type of vision. The first type of vision is kind of looking into the future just a little bit and seeing things the way that you want to see them happen. You may call it a form of imagery, which is, you know, probably closer to a direct definition than the other type of vision. Nonetheless, let's look into it and see what it means and what I mean by it. I'm suggesting that if I want to become XYZ type of company, or if I want to become XYZ type of entrepreneur, or if I want to become XYZ type of athlete, and I'm using XYZ as you can fill in the blank and describe whatever you want to have it be. You're actually looking further than where you are right now. Let's say I'm, you know, right here, right now, but in several minutes I can already envision myself ending this topic and feeling good about myself and feeling like I was able to communicate across to you the message that I wanted to give and feel inspired by that. And that is the essence actually of vision. You actually kind of can look into the future just a little bit, and you can kind of portray where you want to be, and what it does is it motivates you, it inspires you, and it drives you. It makes you feel like you've accomplished something. You may have a sense of satisfaction before you've actually done it, and I guess that's probably the key. Here are some things you need to probably think about just in case you get overwhelmed with, you know, going too far in the future. A lot of sports psychologists suggest you want to stay in the here and now and not project too far in the future, because that can create some sort of nervousness and anxiety. I agree with that to a certain extent. You always need to be in the here and now. You always need to know what's going on so that you can concentrate and focus on things that are right in front of you, so you don't get distracted by a lot of things that have happened in the past. You got to learn how to let stuff go. And then focusing too far in the future, now your stuff that's going on right in front of you, you may not be paying attention to that, and you can kind of fall behind. Nonetheless, I want you to kind of think about where you are right now and where you want to be. That is the vision that I am describing right now. I would like to be an exceptional, you fill in the blank. Now, of course, all of those things that we've talked about on several of the other videos, you have to create an action plan. You need to set some goals. You need to be motivated, and then you need to justify why you're going to do it. But I think it first has to start with that clear vision in your head, in your brain. You can see where you want to go. On the flip side of things, I'm just gonna, you know, turn it upside down so that you can clearly see what I mean. A lot of people use vision in what I like to call a negative way. They use it in a negative way, and it makes them feel bad, and then they're frozen. They can't do anything. You know what I'm talking about? Worry is a key word, or you maybe have a definition for worry and fear and anxiety. I think when you have all of those words and you can kind of use definitions to turn them into some type of an emotion, that is a negative vision of where they're going to be in the future, and that sometimes can make you freeze. You won't do anything. The type of vision that I'm talking about is a positive, productive vision, where I am not where I want to be right now, but I can already see it in my head, and I'm going to create an action plan to get where I need to go. I'm going to look out and look for the best type of people that can help me get to that goal, and I'm gonna, you know, pursue, because I'm inspired, because I'm motivated, because this is what I want to do. It's my personal vision, so it makes me feel good to think about it, and now I can carry myself going forward. So that's the first type of vision I'm talking about. The second type of vision that I'm talking about is somewhat related, and it's more could be sports specific, but that other vision could be sports specific too if you apply it to your sport or your job or your career or your endeavor or whatever you're doing. This one is going to be a little more particular to seeing and reading and anticipating. A lot of sport theorists, again, they kind of boil down vision to three different topics. The one that I just talked about, actual vision with your eyes where you're seeing things, and they go on to describe that type of vision doesn't necessarily affect the others. Of course, if you can't see, now we're talking about a whole different ball game. The third type of vision that many of them talk about is anticipatory skills. What does that mean? That could mean if I know I'll use wrestling because I'm a wrestling coach and I wrestled for about 30 years or so. I'll use that as an example. If I know my athlete is getting ready to shoot a double leg with this specific setup, I can plan a counter almost invariably because I know what they're going to do. So as soon as I see them cue or telegraph or do a certain specific movement, I have the vision in my mind already. When she does that, I'm going to do this. I'm already anticipating what this person's going to do, and then I counter the skill. Now you're saying, well, how do you develop that skill? That skill, that type of vision is developed by practice. Just like, we've been talking about on many of these videos and talks, a lot of things are derived from practice. Now, how do you practice to develop that sort of anticipatory vision, and or reading what the athlete is going to do, and or reading their mind, and or developing the tactical awareness of when this happens, I'm already going to do this? Your coach and or your trainer and or your wrestling partners, you've got to train in a certain way, and 9 times out of 10 the coach will put you in a certain situation so that you're kind of going through those skills. In other words, if I know the person's going to do a skill, I have to have them go at it. If let's say I'm drilling defensively in wrestling again, I want them to shoot a double leg, and I want to learn how to counter that double leg. So I tell them, you got to take it step by step, just like baby steps. Babies, most babies crawl, then they creep, or they creep, then they crawl, then they start to wobble, then they walk, then they jog, then they run. Of course, then they get into sports like our sport. You need to do the same thing when you're learning how to counter a specific movement. In order to develop the vision, which is reading what they're going to do next, which is anticipating their next move, which is having the ability to see that and forecast and predict before it actually happens. You only are going to be able to do that with practice. Going back to the double leg, this person shoots a double leg, and I have options based on my coach explaining and teaching these things to me. If the head goes here, then I do this. If the arm goes there, then I do that. And you've got to practice, of course. I want to practice counters to a double leg from an arm drag. I want to practice counters to a double leg from a head snap. I want to practice counters to a double leg from a head tap. Depending on who you're actually wrestling, they're probably going to use one of those setups or something else. And generally speaking, after they've done that skill once, now you should be able to anticipate that coming the second time, especially if they scored with that particular movement skill. Does that make sense? So in essence, in order for you to be able to anticipate, you're going to have to practice a bunch of and a variety of different skills, and your coach should be putting you in these certain scenarios so that you're able to overcome that double leg from either one of those setups that I showed you. And when they change from the double leg to a single leg, and you've got to practice that too. I'm just using the double leg as an example, but there are a variety of skills that you need to be able to have a certain vision for so that you can counter. What happens if you cannot have that reading skill, or reading the person's hips, or reading their actions, or forecasting what they're going to do, or being able to predict what they're going to do? If you're unable to do those things, they're probably your defense, your counter offense probably isn't going to work, because if they're as good an athlete as you, if they're as quick and strong and as smart as you are, if that reaction or action comes too late, it is too late. I mean, they probably already scored. In the midst of their doing their skill, you've got to read what's going on, and I'm calling that vision. You've been able to see the future, so to speak. When you can see the future, you can predict it. Now you can anticipate, and now you're ready for that particular skill. We're gonna at some point talk about setups and tactics, and those will help you. But once you master setups and a variety of different setups, and once you master tactics and strategy, all of those play into this type of vision, which is essentially anticipating what that person's next move is going to be based on what they've done before, or you predicting based on cues that they're giving you. Does that make sense? Hopefully you're able to understand what I'm saying here. There's 2 types of vision. There's more than 2 types, but I just kind of focused on 2 types of vision here. The first vision is, of course, trying to see yourself right now where you are, and then projecting where you want to be. And that type of vision, you're going to put together an action plan and put together a series of goals, and you're going to be motivated by seeing where you want to be. Man, that is inspiring. I want to be here. And then sometimes that motivates you, inspires you, and you put together all these different action plans. The second type of vision is actually, when you're going through your wrestling skills and whatnot, you can't control what that person's going to do, but if you know what they're going to do, it's a lot easier for you to counter it, and that is going to happen. You develop and enhance that ability and that skill by practicing. Okay, I know this person does headlocks, and it doesn't matter who the person is. Let me learn the counters to headlocks. Let me learn what the specific setups to a headlock are. So now when I I sense and I see that setup coming, I automatically go into my reaction, my response to counter. And that I use counter offense as an example, but it can also be offense. You can also do offensive skills. If I snap this person and their head goes here, I do this. If I snap this person's head and the head goes there, then I do that. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. I just tried to break it down again in a quick review, and we're talking about vision. Remember, you can get more information like this at youtube.com, Coach Shannon. Coach Shannon Talks.